I'll go ahead and give this a shot at the recording. I'm here at Agua Fria National Monument. As you see, not a rest area. On the way here, I noticed all through the center island of the freeway of I-17 between Flagstaff, Arizona and Phoenix is a plasma fire. Here you can see it got to a very hot degree and burned all that wood to dust. Here's the inconsistent burn patterns. Highly burned here, unburned there. It burns them off at the base. This isn't a good example, and I'm losing light fast. You can see these lines where there was a stick there and a stick there and a small stick here, that it turned to dust, leaving the leaves unburnt. I'll go through and I'll show you, probably just throw this video away. I doubt I'm even going to keep this video or waste anyone's time, because I've shown enough of these that this one seems kind of redundant. But the bottom line is, these are brush fires where the weeds underneath do not burn hot enough to scorch the ground, and the ground is scorched in a black color just beneath the bushes or the trees where there's a root system below the ground, and it's the electricity coming up through the ground, scorching the dirt to where it's black, and then that is what starts the weeds on fire and creates a brush fire, clearing out the rest of the brush. But there's a reason that beneath every one of these bushes, it's burned so hot that it scorches the soil to a blackened color. So I'll probably just come back and make a better video. This one's kind of starting to suck already. And what I'll be showing in the next video is that this one, oh, by the way, that's probably, these power lines might have a little something to do with it. It's called field activated combustion synthesis, as described by James Grunwig in his article titled "Cell Towers and Sunspots Ignite California Fires." This one over here exemplifies pretty good how the ground beneath is scorched, where you can imagine the root system. The roots go down in the same shape that the branches come up out of the ground, generally. And that's why there's always this black ring around the bush. And here you can see it's pretty much unburned, and it always burns to a very high, hot temperature where there was a bush. So right here, even though there's not a bush anymore, you know there was, because of this black circle. Right here, again, there must have been a bush centered right about here. So I'll just come back later and make a better video. This is very inadequate. But all I wanted to do is mention that there's a long strip of just the center island. And this is what happens where it actually bends the branches over. I'll go catch a better. Now this is what we see with all the tires. You can see there was a tire here. This is the cords that are remaining that conducted the electricity, and the tire itself was turned to ash. That's what happens with all these plasma fires. My neighbor, whose house burned down, or his yard burned, all of the wiring around his yard did the same thing. These blackened spots, why is that one burned and this one's not? Because it came from below. My neighbor, all of the wiring all around his house, all these black spots here, are little tiny bushes where there's a small root system sticking down into the ground. As I keep trying to say. And by the way, there's no fuel around these to have burned up to those. Yet here you have unburned, but that one burned hot, this one burned hot. You can see all around this unburned area, burn, burn, burn. So it's not, anyway, I'm being redundant. Anyone who's watched these for this long knows that I kind of know what I'm talking about, is to the degree that anyone can when we're looking at these fire signatures that are unlike what we've previously seen. So I'll come back on another day and document this again later, but what I did want to do is mention that, like I said, I can find these in every state. Here we happen to be in Arizona. And what happens a lot of the time with these is that we'll burn it at the base and the branch will fall over, having the leaves still on the end of it. Here, highly burned, unburned. Because, oh, here's a good example of what I was talking about. This was connected up there. Unburned, highly burned. So the electricity came up and through, and a lot of the times it'll burn it right at the base and burn it right off at the base, like pretty much break it right off, and the branches will flop over. I can probably find one that is an example of that, like this one. Anyway, I feel this video is highly inadequate. But there's a little more example right there. Unburned on the top, burned on this side. So let it suffice to say for now that there was another plasma fire in Arizona on I-17. You can't get wood to burn that hot over here and totally unscorched over here with fire, flames licking it from the outside. That can only happen from electricity coming up through the middle. So until I get some better video, I'll just leave it at that. Here you have the remnants of what was a bush that was rooted right there. The ash right here, and you can see the lines. That's either the roots underground or the actual branches of the bush that fell over and burned. Here we have another example of the same thing, and these little burned patches of grass are the same thing all along the way. Right here, the pile of ash in the middle, that's the wood that the bush was connected to. This is a piece that burned and fell off and fell over. Likewise with that one. So a lot of the time what you'll see is a bunch of branches, each one laying on the ground, pointed out from the center of the bush, because they burned so hot that it actually snapped the branch off and laid it over and just burned the base of it. Enough to break it away from the rest of the limb. Here you can see the scorched soil around the base of this bush. Again, just another signature of the same pattern. Here's one final interesting pattern I'm seeing already, even with the low lighting. This one's burnt to where it's blackened and this piece is untouched. Likewise with this one and this one. And we saw these in the Paradise fires where these things were burning from the top like a torch. And the guy who has the catchphrase, "Cultivate your common sense," John, forget what his name is, but I'll include a link in the description if I can find him. Cultivate your common sense, John Knox, K-N-O-X. He's the one that shows you these burning and describes the fire retardant that they use in it and how and why it works that way. So the electricity coming up blackened that one because there's a disconnect between these two pieces. That's why that one's black and that one's brown. They all started out like this, both equally the same color. Some burn, like this one, and then it skips one, and then it hit that one, But you can see, here's a little bit more of the uneven burn pattern. Oh, hey, what do you know? There we go. I don't want to catch that spider. But yeah, this is very telling. Burned, unburned. Skip one. Burned and unburned. Because the burn is coming from below. So these are the same effects that we saw in Paradise, California, where the posts on these guardrail, and why it happens to skip every other one almost consistent. In fact, it is. This one hit, that one's unhit. That one's hit, that one's unhit. That one's hit, same thing going back. This one's hit, that one's unhit. I'll show you all of them on the way back. It's consistently every other one, which is kind of turning my brain to pure gravy. Why it hit that one and not this one, and then that one. They all started out just like this, equally unburned. And for some reason it hit every other one. Talk about brain gravy. Pure gravy. This one, just like the other one, we got some a bush at the bottom that gave the inconsistent burn pattern here. But it doesn't have this effect like this, where this is black and this is brown. And then it skips one, and then it hits one. And then it skips one, and then it hits one. Wow, this is kind of a new, interesting take on things. This one's got burn here, and I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna just show you the rest of this pattern because it is interesting that it hit literally every other one. This one got a little bit of the inconsistency, but the black-brown, this one's a miss. That one's a hit. That one's a miss. That one's a hit. That one's a miss. Why it hit every other one, I don't know. That's kind of turning my brain to gravy. Here's some more of that inconsistent burn pattern. Probably having to do with the bolt that works as a conductor. So that one's a miss, that one's a hit. Miss, hit. Bizarre that it's every other one. Maybe it has something to do with the construction. They actually put a ground wire in every other one or something. But that's what's happened here. Like Mel Gibson in the movie Conspiracy Theory, where he says, "What is that?" And he says, "It's gravy for your brain." No, no more brain gravy. Why is it every other one took the burn? And it's always, we know, because it's the electricity coming from below, but why every other one? Without fail. John Knox, we need you to cultivate our common sense for us, man. We know you've done the study on this and you use your own brain. This one's unhit, but it's got some green. And it looks like all the rest are unhit, except for one that's down here. This one got hit. And that's why it's black, from burn, from the inside, because that's why it's called field-activated combustion synthesis. It doesn't actually combust. So all of these are relatively unhit. Looks like that one's hit. This one got hit unevenly. And we'll just work our way back down now. So these ones kind of break the pattern. These ones aren't hitting the every other one pattern like they were. Here in just a second, we'll hit back in the pattern. Here we go. Hit. Unhit. Okay, we're still not back in the pattern because that's unhit, that's unhit, that's unhit, that's unhit. Here, now we're back in the pattern. And this one took a little bit of burn also. Unhit. Hit. Unhit. Hit. Unhit. Hit. This one would be one of the unhits, but for some reason, somehow, it did take some burn. But again, fire doesn't do that. Fire doesn't leave that unburned and just kind of sizzle the hell out of this. So that's an unhit, technically. That one's a hit. Unhit. Hit. Unhit. And I'll shut the hell up now, but I'm gonna just keep showing you because this pattern is so consistent, it raises a very good question. Is there something different about the construction? The way these are? Is there a ground wire going into the one that gets hit? Because it's every other one, and that would match a construction pattern where they put a piece of rebar in every other one, a piece of rebar going down into the ground to work as a reinforcement so they don't just snap off. Every other one gets an extra piece of rebar in it or something. This one got some burn at the bottom, but that's an unhit. Hit. Unhit. Hit. This one is an unhit, and somehow it got more burn here, like maybe this nail right here. Who knows? This one's a hit, as far as this one being blackened, and this one got a little bit of spotty burn action. Not sure why, but that is the mystery of these plasma fires. Every other one. This one's an unhit with a little bit of spotty burnage. This one's a hit. The fact that it's every other one kind of blows my mind. The rest is kind of old news because we saw these things all burning like Roman torches, like tiki torches, in the Paradise, California fire. And John Knox came up, John Knox and Jamie Lee of A Plain Truth came up with a good understanding of what it is that creates the combustion. It is the preservation chemicals that they use in these, because in order to get one of these burning where there's a flame coming out the top like you saw in Paradise, California, it takes a lot of heat. And the treatment that they use, they pressure treat them and they put chemicals in them to stop them from rotting and possibly to keep them from starting on fire. But that same chemical works as a conductor of the electricity. And John Knox and Jamie did the background research and came to a much better explanation and understanding of it than I have just given. But the fact that it is every other one consistently raises a good question. What is the difference about the construction of these or the material they're made out of that causes every other one to burn and somehow ground enough of the plasma that's coming from the ground? Okay, it's like lightning that comes up from the ground. For those that are just catching on to this and newcomers, but I don't have any new subscribers, so most people watching this are pretty familiar with what it is we're looking at and talking about. But this is kind of a new development, the every other one effect. Oh, now we're breaking the pattern again. There's 2 that are unhit, 3 that are unhit. This one almost looks reversed, but that's not burned. It's just a little darker brown. Okay, that's the show for tonight, folks. I'm headed out. It is a beautiful sunset, though. Enjoy the goodies. Enjoy the remainder of your earthly experience while you become acquainted with your new accommodations. and acclimated to the new environment. Welcome to planet Zorgon. Incoming message from the big giant head. Okay, that was a third rock from the sun reference that most people probably don't get. Okay, 20 minutes in. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Deuce, deuce. You got to admit, that's pretty though. All right, deuce, deuce.